And, people remember big inflation crises like the Weimar Republic after World War I, before Hitler. Germany's currency went to zero.
Right.
Because they were just printing money to pay for war debts.
Right.
And then people maybe remember when Zimbabwe, when their currency hit hyperinflation. It's happened in Argentina as well. But how many times has it happened?
Greece, it happened in Greece a couple of years ago.
Happened in Greece a couple of years ago. How many times does it happen in the United States?
Hyperinflation? I can't really.
That only happens in poor, broke countries, right?
Yeah. Well, see, maybe, yeah.
So I mean, it's happened at least 3 times in the United States.
Okay.
So there was a collapse of the continental dollar.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Okay.
During the Revolutionary War, there was a collapse of the Confederate dollar in the Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
Technically, the Northern dollar collapsed too because they had to go off the gold standard for a while.
Right.
And then in 1971, when they had to close the gold window and detach the dollar from from gold.
Yep.
Technically, another example of where a currency failed. We're the most prosperous, greatest economy in human history, but our history with inflation is not great. And so I'm like, wait a minute, if inflation's this wealth destroyer, how can the history of America be riddled with poor currency management and we're still so wealthy?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, then maybe some people win in hyperinflationary environments. And, who are those people? And so I started studying. So we got to go back to before the Revolutionary War. We got to go back to money printing in the colonies. And so the first time money was ever printing in the colonies was like in the 1600s in Massachusetts. So what used to happen in Massachusetts was every spring the militia would get together and they'd go raid Canada. Kind of a big deal why the French Canadians didn't join us in the Revolution. They didn't like us much because we had spent about 100 years raiding them.
Okay.
And so, well, how do you convince a soldier to go raiding every spring? Why would they do
that? Bonuses?
Money.
And
so before they went on the raid, did you pay them with cash?
Probably not.
No, you told them you get to keep whatever you take. So that was how they were going to get paid.
Gotcha.
So, poor planning, poor contingency. A couple times the Massachusetts guys went up there and they lost.
Ooh.
So how do they're coming back and they're like, hey, they promised us some stuff. How do we get our payday? And so then they would threaten the Massachusetts citizens.
Okay.
Say, hey, pay us or we're going to, instead of raiding a Canadian town, we're going to raid you. And so the politicians then, we don't have any gold or silver to pay them with, so we'll just print money that represents gold and silver that they can take to a bank and then get gold and silver for it, right? And so once you give a politician the ability to print money detached from gold, do you think they're going to be austere and conservative with, or what do you think they're going to do?
Probably be pretty liberal with that.
They're going to go bonkers.
Yeah.
Because they can. Because a politician is just concerned with get the next election cycle, right?
Uh-huh.
So Massachusetts start printing money. Within 3 years, their currency is completely worthless. So
this is like the colony of Massachusetts. Yeah.
Completely worthless. And so then a couple other colonies did this, and finally the British, Britain said no more printing money in the colonies. So it was completely outlawed.
Yeah.
It was like it doesn't get mentioned in history classes, but this was one of the colonists' gripe is there wasn't enough gold and silver to conduct trade in the colonies. And then because, all the Spanish gold that was getting mined ended up in Europe. So there just wasn't enough medium of exchange.
Right.
So they wanted paper money. The problem with paper money is what we just discussed.
Right.
So this doesn't hit the history books, but this was one of the colonists' beefs.
Yeah.
And so then the Revolutionary War happened, and we talked about in a previous podcast, the continental dollar went to zero. So if you like what you heard today and you want to learn more, sign up for a discovery call with one of the Breland Capital success coaches at jimmybreland.com.